Greg Fontenot and Skip Baker, written by Greg Fontenot. Sidney, Skip Baker, and I served together in the 1st Infantry Division from 1986 until 1991. Skip and I became battle buddies in the strictest sense of the word. At the outset, we served in different units down the street from each other. Skip served as executive officer or second in command of the 2nd Brigade from 1986 until 1989, while I served as executive officer of the 1st Battalion 34th Armor, operations officer, and finally as executive officer of the 1st Brigade. In that time, we collaborated to support each other's units in rotation to the National Training Center, deployments to Germany, and to meet training commitments at Fort Riley, Kansas. We became close friends when we each took command of our battalions on the same day. I took command at the 2nd Battalion, 3rd Armor on the morning of April 14, 1989. Skip took command of the 5th Battalion, 16th Infantry that same afternoon. Skip was older than I was. He saw combat with 101st Airborne in Vietnam. He was affable, generous, and a hard-nosed infantryman. He became like an older brother to me. I could seek his advice on how to handle problems. If either of us needed something the other had, it was given freely. We enjoyed each other's company, and so our units worked well together. Tanks and infantry don't fight alone as effectively as when they fight together, so we trained with each other. When I took my battalion to the National Training Center, he sent me his best company and one of his best officers to help my staff out. When he took his battalion to the National Training Center, I sent my best company with him. In the summer of 1990, 516 Infantry and 234 Armor trusted and respected each other and were used to working together. When Iraq invaded and seized Kuwait, we both concluded that we would be called, and we worked together to prepare for the eventuality. That same fall, when the list of those selected for promotion came out, I was on the list, but Skip was not. Skip rejoiced at my selection, while I was saddened at his being passed over. His generosity far exceeded his disappointment. To me, that is the surpassing characteristic of Skip Baker, generosity. On November 8, 1990, the Secretary of Defense announced that the 1st Infantry Division, the Big Red One, would deploy to Saudi Arabia. From that moment on, our battalions bonded in ways that neither of us imagined. Our brigade commander elected to organize each of our units as balanced task forces. Skip gave me 2 companies led by officers he knew I liked and whose companies had worked with me previously. I did the same for him. Our soldiers trained and fought together from January until April of 1991, when we returned to pure formations to come home. My task force fired out the first shots on February 17, 1991, and Skip's troops supported the bloodless seizure of Safwan airfield in early March. When the ceasefire took effect, Skip and I met to brew a cup of Louisiana coffee our mutual friend, Lieutenant Commander Russ Honore, had given me. I promised Skip I would keep the coffee to share with him only when the war was over. Given that we ran out of Army coffee, sharing a cup of coffee on the 1st of March was a bigger deal than it sounds after the fact. We took a few minutes that morning to enjoy each other's company, to mourn our dead, and to share our satisfaction of how many of our soldiers would go home alive. We gave up our battalions on the same day in June of 1991. Skip turned over his infantry battalion in the morning, and I gave up my tank battalion that afternoon. We never served together again. Both of us moved on. We both made colonel. I went on to do another deployment, that time in Bosnia. Skip deployed to Somalia. Both of us retired as colonels. We grew closer despite our separation. We met at least once a year to enjoy each other's company, if only for a day or so. We also met at reunions or called each other just to talk. We both trained as historians and each had taught history. Skip at the Air Force Academy and I taught at West Point. We shared our love of history and soldiering whenever we came together. We lost Skip in 2013. The last thing I could do for him was to eulogize his memory at his final formation. Skip was my battle buddy, but more than that, he was my brother, and I miss him still. I am grateful for his friendship and the gift of association with the soldiers of one of America's greatest infantry regiments. The 16th stood in line at the Antietam, landed at Omaha Beach, fought in Vietnam, deterred aggression during the Cold War, and soldiered in Iraq and Afghanistan. They remain, along with their brothers and sisters in the 34th Armor, ready to do what is asked of them. Skip and I were foolish romantics. We both believed in the idea of America and quaint notions of honor and duty. Thank you, Skip, for believing and sharing with me your commitment to what we both loved, our families, our army, and our country.